Good evening.
Yeah, this is
So, how are you today?
okay. I'm just getting closer to leaving, so just
Mhm.
a couple of few days, 3 days, I think.
Mm. Yeah, thank you for the invitation again. And so for today, I'd like to uh, have a dialogue with you about conflict. Uh,
Okay.
Last time we talked about relationship,
Hmm.
and I think in relationship, conflict might be one of the main thing in the conflict, in the relationship. Uh,
Obstacles, yeah.
yes, it happens frequently. Uh,
Mm.
so my first question, curious, might be, what do you think is the root of conflict?
Conflict is, of course, is what we call conflict. Of course, that is we have, this we have named it as conflict, but actually, conflict is is the process itself, of um, anything new coming into or anything. Conflict is sort of the process of change, actually. Yeah. So if there are changes coming on, then of course, what we call it conflict, but actually that is how changes come, you know. So whenever you want to uh, have a change, of course, means it could be growth in your relationship. Also, um, or what we may call misunderstanding, or we might look at it as an obstacle, and also we could also look at it as part of the growth process.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that we call it conflict, that of course we presuppose uh, difficulties and all that thing is uh, you know tagged on to it. But actually, conflict is a natural process of change.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a natural process of change.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so when you said this, I remembered when I got married more than 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
My boyfriend at that time, I mean, later my husband, has a quality of warmth, as I feel. Uh, and now, after more than 10 years, he is still the same person um, with the quality of warmth, but there are also moments I feel very cold from him.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. And also in past more than 10 years, there are many things happening, and I find out more of him. There are different times he has different parts showing. So when I see it from what you said just now, a process of change, I somehow can understand where the conflict are from. Mm, yeah.
So actually, a relationship is of acceptance of each other. So in this acceptance, uh, is, of course, you accept each other at a certain time and certain period, and the knowledge that you have of each other is limited, But as you continue in this relationship, you begin to discover more and more things about each other. And of course, accepting each new finding is the process of adjusting oneself and accepting the other and discovering the other, you see. So and also sometimes people themselves might be changing also, So then it's a question of, then the conflict becomes more difficult when you might say, whether should I accept or not, Sometimes then you begin to question all that. Then of course conflict becomes a real conflict. That is when we find difficult to accept the changes. And and also this is also two ways. That is, it's not only you accepting it, also the other person need to accept it also, So then this, what we call natural changes or natural growth, becomes difficult to accept, or becomes a difficult, to continue the process.
And I remembered a few years ago when I provided training to some staffs in international school. One of the participants said some people from other sections will go to her and ask her to do some job. And she said it wasn't supposed to be her job, or what her office should do. So she has a lot of complaint, but she didn't dare to tell other people. If we accept conflict as a process of change, how, she didn't feel very well about what happened. So do we have to accept it, what happened, or what she can do in those circumstances?
Yeah. So it's not just a question of accepting. Also, even in it's not a simple acceptance of the changes, but also conflict becomes when either one of the party cannot accept it. Then it becomes a real conflict, But actually, it is a change that is not that if both the parties agree, accepting it's okay, but then one party does not agree, then of course it is still a change in the sense of you are reviewing the change, whether it is it worth accepting, or is it, but that is in the context of a relationship. And some might think, no, it's not worth it, so then you may break up the relationship. That is also part of a change, actually. Whether, I don't know whether you'll call it a growth, or in some ways everything is a growth, in the sense of you begin to understand another person in a different way, and understand your own energy and strength to really stay with it or not stay with it, move on or something. So they are all part of our changes. How do you navigate your life,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So you agree that sometimes we can also break up with the other person in relationship, right? No matter in job, marriage, or other relationship.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because relationship, they do happen, people break up, but then that is also part of the change, in your. So it's not a question of, we are not questioning whether this is good or bad, This is right or wrong, it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's a change, yes, it is a change,
Mm-hmm. Mm. So does it mean that the person break up the relationship with the other person that we lose the spirit of a connection or empathy? Mm.
Absolutely, yeah. You lose and also, but someone might say that it depends. One might say that you lose connection, you lose relationship, and all those things. One side, and the other side also might say there is no other way for me to go except to do this. You see, so how one sees the growth, how one sees one's survival, you know. So in a case, for instance, where there is really abuse or anything that comes in, then of course that's also change, that you have the courage to take a stand and do what you need to do,
Mm.
So we're not talking about what is right and wrong now, what is good and bad, but it is just a question of the change that is happening.
Mm. So I'm wondering about where is the line of boundary and compassion. This might be my one now. Yeah.
So, so that is the compassion of, and if there actually, unfortunately, there are no boundaries, for compassion. We said love is an unconditional love,
Mm-hmm.
and there is where will we put the boundaries there?
But I lost you just now. Yeah, so let's
So
say, yeah, the boundary and the compassion. Sometimes,
yeah.
yeah, um, yeah, it's difficult.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
so. Um, yeah, I mean, how do you find out what step to take? I mean, some uh, uh, incompatibility, for instance, in a relationship.
Sorry, I missed you just now. From you said sometimes.
When there is a serious incompatibility,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of in your way of behavior or in there is really no possibility because you are also two people who are discovering each other, no? In any relationship, it's a question of it's a relationship that grows, and in that relationship, sometimes you find because you don't know, you keep on discovering each other.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And when you find, for instance, like Marshall gives the example of, if you remember the example of the woman who came in the middle of the night to him for, that her husband has thrown her out or something, and then he said that is, so why should he take up all these things? So he called the fellow, and so something very interesting story that he had, he was to tell. That is, he was talking about people when they take, they don't speak up, they don't speak their mind, and there is no real connection,
Mm-hmm.
then of course, then the other person misunderstands this, and then the whole thing, finally they throw one person out, and then it's sort of a so what is important is to stay in connection, you see, in any relationship. So that's what Marshall was talking about. For instance, being nice, connection is not about being nice, it's about really connecting, to speak your mind, and so so when one misunderstands the other and takes advantage of it, for instance, this person, they don't speak up their mind, like for instance, do you like this or not? And they don't, when each other don't speak up their mind and their feelings,
Mm-hmm.
then of course connection breaks down seriously, and then of course then I don't know, would you call that still a conflict?
Mm-hmm.
You see.
Mm-hmm. When you said this, I remembered there was a story talking about a snake who wanted to be compassionate, and so there was some guru told it that be compassionate to others, to human beings. So then you can become enlightened. And then when people throw stones on it and beat it, he just bear it. And people even took away its teeth, and and it couldn't bite human beings anymore. And he was so thirsty and so hungry. And then when the guru came again, the snake was dying, and the guru was surprised and asked it, why you are like this? And the snake said, you told me to compassionate and don't bite people, and and be good so I can be enlightened. And the guru told it, um no, where is your intuitive and you couldn't bear like this and you're almost dying and so what you said just
That's right.
yeah remembered
Yeah.
me this story yeah yeah
Reminded you of this story. Yeah.
yeah
So then it's a question of, in any relationship, it's just being alive is very important, Being connected is important. Being, if there is no connection, then of course this relationship is dying,
mm.
And sometimes when it's too late, you cannot revive a relationship. That happens to people. They don't take care of it, then of course.
Mm. So it means first of all we need to be authentic and alive
Yeah,
speak up for ourselves
absolutely. Yeah.
mm. Mm-hmm.
The scary honesty is an important part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, and just now you said there's no boundary.
There is actually no boundaries, yeah. When
Mm-hmm.
you consider compassion as love, of course, has no boundaries, because in the sense of we say love means unconditional love. If you are putting boundaries to love, then of course there is, the very term love is an unconditional love is what we call love. The conditional love will be contracts or whatever that you devise. So um, compassion has no boundaries, but then there are boundaries that is, but if you don't have the connections, there is no compassion when you have no connection, isn't it?
Mm.
So there is no compassion. It is actually, it's like the person beating up the snake and, taking off its teeth and all that, you see.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that you should accept everything the other person does, you see. Compassion means it's a dynamic process now, compassion. Love is a dynamic energy. So if the other one doesn't love, and what do you do? And if there is no love and compassion, of course, they are unconditional and limitless energies. But then, but when a connection is there, then of course that good energy can manifest itself. But when there is no connection, then you can't do anything about it, You might have great compassion, yes.
Mm. Yeah, so connection is a key point of compassion. If there's no connection, there's no compassion. Is this what you mean? Mhm.
I mean, you will have compassion, of course,
Mhm.
but how would you show the compassion is
Mm.
if there is if um, if the compassion, of course, is um, so if you give someone there is also needs someone to accept it, receive it,
Mhm.
right? So when there is no one to receive,
Mhm.
then uh, of course that is not compassion. That is, compassion will demand another opposite sort of, what is compassion may dictate different dynamics.
Mhm. Mhm.
For instance, if
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
you might be compassionate, but then there should be another person to receive the compassion. There
Mm.
should be uh,
Mhm. So the compassion can be manifested in the
in
relationship.
different
Yeah.
different way. For instance, one maybe it's what compassion may dictate for you to walk away
Mm.
sometimes.
Mm.
Sometimes that's the only way that you can survive, or you can help the other person survive.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it's still compassion, right?
Mm. So as I can understand from you, compassion also needs wisdom to manifest the compassion.
Exactly, yeah. Manifest.
Uh-huh.
Actually, it doesn't need wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, compassion as it is, it always has its own wisdom,
Mm.
but the manifestation of it uh, may not be perceived by the other one as compassion sometimes, but still it's compassion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a very uh, popular sample, example. I mean, uh, once I was in a restaurant, I saw a couple was with their small boy, and the boy was crying that when they ordered the food, the boy said, "I want this." And then the food was treated to him, and he said, "No, I don't want this. I want that." And the mother was not happy about that, and she screamed at him. And then the um, father came in, and he started to beat the boy very heavily in the restaurant.
Mm.
So there are many people, more than 20 people in the restaurants, and I was sitting behind them. So at that time, I saw the mother was screaming and the father was beating him angrily. Um, and I wanted to help, wanted to stop. But at that moment, mm, I don't know how I can be compassionate with the three of them. Looks like, yeah, they need different support or help. Um, and if you were in that case, how would you do?
How would I do? I also don't know what to do. Yeah, I mean, if someone, of course, this you can see that it is not. It's a desperation and despair of the parents, no?
Yeah.
And so they don't know what to do with the. You feel really sorry for the parents who are actually they either they have to go back home or to uh, because they cannot because they have a child that they cannot control and they have so and this is not this is something that is that they don't know how to do, how to take care of a situation like that, So what would anyone do, for instance? Parents, what can they do when a child is screaming and when they have the tantrums, And what can they do? I think if the parents they are unable to control and they may just take take away and take the child back home. At least not to not to be embarrassed. They will do that because just beating up the child does not help the child's growth nor help the others, and also it embarrasses them.
Mm. So it's hard to decide as a people who's standing by.
Unless of course you have some people have a way of uh, getting involved and also helping also, in the sense of sometimes they can speak to the child. Some people who know how to deal with children, they will say, let's see what you want, and then take him out or, somewhere and then show him all the dishes and things. This is what this is. Sort of, distract the child so that first of all, it can really be able to behave. Yeah, but some people really have a knack of all that, in the sense of, especially people who are very familiar with the children's tantrums and all, how to deal with them. Then, of course, they have a way of dealing with that.
Father, I remembered you said that if people were in conflict, it means that they are in connection. If there's no connection, it means you don't have conflict.
Yeah. This is in this one. This is a conflict. Actually, what would you call this? Is that a conflict? What's happening there? Will that be a conflict?
Yeah, I remember you said people are in conflict. It means they are in connection.
Connection.
Yeah.
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 This is a very good example. Conflict is actually a birth of a change, And when we are not ready for it, then there is a whole lot of embarrassment and this and that comes up, But when we have a way of able to be present to the conflict, then of course we could then conflicts are not solved. As I said, I always think that conflicts resolve by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
When you really have the patience and the skills to allow it to manifest itself,
Do you mean we
and
don't
to
do
see.
anything about it and we don't take efforts to resolve it? And
Yeah, I mean, the conflict is not this is a despair situation. This is an outcome of a conflict that's happening there at the restaurant. But the conflict is in the family, in the sense of they don't know how to bring up the child, deal with the child. That is the conflict, really. So they don't know what to. If you don't face it, and if you don't allow, do something about understanding it, allowing space and whatever necessary steps that you need to take to understand the conflict. And then of course, it never gets resolved. I mean, it cannot resolve itself, But if you give time, then of course, then you can, the conflict resolve themselves. For instance, if there is this conflict, there is always, you can see that this child has a problem of connecting to the parents, So that is the real conflict, right? I don't know whether, you cannot say whether it's a fault of the parents or fault of the child. There is no question of that, all right? Because they have a child, maybe it has some problem of its own, but if the parents don't understand that, and normally parents say okay, the child is all right, they always cover up the children's uh, difficulties. You see, they will never say that their child has some problem, this problem or that problem.
Mhm.
So when you are not open to it, when you don't really open up yourself to the to the change that's happening, then of course it becomes worse, So while if you are really openly able to see what's happening and open to and able to accept what is happening and looking for ways to deal with it, then of course then the conflict resolves itself. Of course, when it's a question of a child, there is involved. When it's adults, you don't have to do anything actually, because it's a question of adults. The conflict is mainly our judgments, because judgments are the main problem. You see, that's why Marshall says to stand back and be able to see more clearly, not to hold any judgments, and then to see what is there, and then of course you begin to see each other, because when there is conflicts, people also show themselves more. Without their own knowledge, they begin to manifest themselves,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So the conflict is mainly from judgment. It may, to me, it may also means from judgment, we have our own strategies how to solve the
Yeah.
conflict. Yeah.
If you have if the judgment in the sense of judgment, of course, if the judgment is covering up, for instance,
Mm.
to deny if there is anything wrong with the child, or to deny anything. Basically, what I meant is when you're not open to it,
Mm-hmm.
open to see more clearly, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you are in denial, when you start denying things, when you are in denial, then of course conflicts cannot resolve itself.
Mm-hmm.
You see.
Mm-hmm. So it may means the parents stick to kind of parenting philosophy or the view of how a child should behave.
Mm,
And if the child's behavior is out of their imagination or expectation,
yeah,
the parents are not authentic or are not at present anymore, and they just want to keep the order. And
yeah. You see, because their strategy, that is one thing, of course, having a strategy, and then of course it's that is because of this case of a child. You see, because I think I just saw today in this global home, Aya Caspi, Aya Caspi. Aya Caspi is one of the trainers. She does work with conflicts. So she just gave a small video where she was talking to this person from Israel, and she said, the other person said, "Oh, I don't want to talk about the far right and the left, and I don't want to talk about politics at all, because you don't get anywhere with politics. They're always fighting eventually, so she doesn't want to talk about it." So then she listened to her, and then of course she repeated what she heard her first, and then afterwards then she started telling her part. She says that I also understand what you're saying. This happens to me also, because most of the time when we start talking about politics, it always ends up tearing up all good relationships. But then she said, I found that this NVC, and she talks about NVC, and she says, but not avoiding it is like avoiding elephant in the room, of course you are pretending to be this, so you're not able to talk about this, right? So then she said, but I found this NVC, it gives you a way of talking about this. And so she said, this is my opinion. And then she asked her to repeat it. And then, of course, it was very clear that, the fact that there is nothing that just hiding it does not the problem conflict does not disappear.
Mm.
So it's a question of you have to be open and to be see it more clearly. And when both sides sees the conflict, then of course you can see, at least you can speak about it. So that was a very simple video that she had put. It's fully good one, but noticing it because so in conflict also it's a question of conflict is there is no real conflict in any of these things. It's all a question of how do you see the things that are happening, and whether you have the courage to speak about, and even just able to listen to the other person, to be able to reflect and to, at least once the person is heard, then you can also speak your point, and then the other person also can repeat it, and then also that you could be heard. So in this case of the child, of course, there is a conflict in the sense of the parents don't know how to speak to this child and how to be, especially how they respond to the child, If you start beating up the child, that means that is certainly they are in desperation, actually. They don't know what to do.
So what is the root of a conflict? Does it mean, from what you said, does it mean that people don't listen to each other's need? That is the root of conflict?
That is one way of, of course, there is a communication problem in the sense of basically people are not heard. No, conflict is, we say, is also just like coming from judgments. That means tragic expression of unmet needs. They don't really connect to each other and also connect to the needs, and feelings of each other. So the basic ones are there. So once you are able to do these simple steps of NVC, of being able to connect, to be able to hear, to be heard, and help the other person to be heard, then of course the conflict becomes more and more clear. That means the change that is to happen will manifest itself. Then both the parties are able to accept that. When only one party can accept it, then the conflict remains. Like in this example that I gave, there were two different opinions, but still they were both able to express and to be able to be heard. That means both find out what their need is, So those are very important parts, as you said. The need of that person is to have peace.
Mm-hmm.
But the strategy that they use is not very helpful because that is a avoidance strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to speak. Let's not talk politics because that doesn't help.
Mm.
So while the other person's need is that they need to really bring this up, all these are also very much questions of life and changes, So all these wars that we are fighting, that's obviously, and they don't see the needs of each other,
Mm. So, there cases that, or it's very popular in the society that people are fighting for win the position, for win some power or money, and they don't care about other people's needs. It happens a lot in this society, even in a small organization
yeah,
like a family. Yeah, who should listen to
absolutely.
who? Yeah, and looks like it requires more people to care about feelings, care about needs.
Needs, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why NVC is such an important element, It's
Mm.
it's actually it's a real life skill, It's necessary for everyone.
Mm-hmm. It's a life skill. Mm-hmm.
To really also to see more clearly and to have the perspective being open to receive the other person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. So I can see that in this case, NVC is how to say peace in language or peace in communication or um enlightenment in language in yeah, we can call it anything from what I see. Yeah. Or love in language, whatever. Yeah. So sometimes people may think NVC is kind of psychology, and it's from people-based psychology, that part. But to me,
Well, actually,
mhm,
you might call it psychology. Yeah, it's not for me. It's not the psychology
mhm,
because it's basically for me. It is about learning to see things more clearly.
mhm,
In the sense of um, some of the skills that you need, like for one thing, I think Marshall pointed out the crucial element is, of course, the judgment.
mhm,
Judgment, whenever there are judgments, there are conflicts. Because when you judge the other person is such and such a person, or that you yourself cannot solve this, or all these things are judgments. When you have these judgments, when there is judgment, of course, you cannot be present to each other, for one thing. This basically means non-judgmental presence. Right? For instance, especially in a community, if there are conflicts, right? Then how do you solve? So conflicts come from the people's judgment of each other, or their own judgment of the changes that they want. So sometimes not willingness to exchanges. So there are so many things to look into that. So for instance, where there is a conflict, first of all, to let go of your judgments yourself, if you want to be present to it, and help others also to let go of their judgment. And then, of course, they can see a little more clearly what is there, you see.
So NVC is really a spiritual path.
It is. It is a
Yes,
spiritual path.
it's really a spiritual path. Because as I see that NVC is mainly about individual growth. That the change is from ourselves. It's not to change others.
That's correct.
Yeah, everything is from ourselves. Every change is from ourselves. How we see the world, how we emphasize others, speak our honesty, and solve our own traumas or this and that.
Yeah, it's a sense of if you don't have that capacity, then of course it's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why it takes, it looks very simple, 4 steps and 4 elements, but it's also very difficult to do it. Yeah, because with the spirit of the element, yeah, go ahead.
Exactly. It contains very maybe difficult spiritual principles,
Yeah.
that you cannot absorb. Like, for instance, to let go of judgment is actually it's already a spiritual path,
Yeah.
To be able to, that means let go of judgments, being to be compassionate, basically, to see more clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why it's so simple but so difficult as well. And it may take years and years practices. So when we share NVC, sometimes the difficult part for me is I can hardly let people experience this kind of spirituality. Yeah, because to me, NVC is more about experiencing how the spirit works.
It's
Yeah.
experiential, yeah.
Yes, experiential, yes.
Yeah, we were just talking about this today about DEI,
Yeah.
they have become more mind oriented.
Yes.
They are finding out to implement DEI, they need lots of money. And they don't have the money also. And then this is sort of affecting the whole IITs and all the NVC training. So they are trying to replace IIT with these 5-day training and this and that, you see, small things, and which basically to make money so that they can pay people to do DEI, you see. I don't know, because to implement DEI, they need a whole lot of money, they say. I don't know what's...
Yeah. Yeah, in this case, NVC is really like a kind of religion to show love, to advocate
Yeah,
or go for their heart, not the mind. Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why I was a little careful with this mediation and all that, There is mediation is possible, and it could become a strategy-oriented thing, or strategies are not the best part of it all, because strategies sometimes could become mechanical, like,
Yeah. Yeah, mechanical steps.
Yeah,
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And spirituality is not a cause or a lessons that how we develop lessons that we can teach people spirituality. It's impossible. Uh, we can create
yeah,
an environment and let people get the experience of how the
yeah.
spirituality works. Um, yeah.
But it really experienced in the living of it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, for instance, if uh, you want people to be loving and compassionate,
Mm-hmm.
you can't teach them that, It's um, you can live it, because in the sense of when you live in community, that of course compassion is becomes so very vital point of survival for for a community.
Mm-hmm.
If there is no compassion and love among the people who form the community, you can't do anything about it,
Mm-hmm.
Just because you can divide and distribute all the things doesn't mean that there will be a community.
Mm-hmm.
They will always, each one will be still fighting for more for themselves.
Yeah.
There will be no community.
Mm. Mm. And another question, Father, I remembered Marshall said something that because I translated his book, the quotes of NVC, and I saw a sentence in the book. It's difficult to get people together to build up the community and to work for the peace, something like that. So from what I saw in the so-called NVC community, because there are so many communities, and in the community there might be one person who was mainly sharing NVC. Like in my community, I might be the one, people call me the NVC trainer or teacher, and um, there was one community, and so you see in our CNVC community, and there are conflicts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my thought is, if there were no real leader, people are having that kind of confidence, or someone they can really listen to, people might just put their own emotion feelings ahead of others, and they may demand or request for empathy, and it's just a personal. So for organizational part, if people only care about the individual feeling and needs, how about the organizational needs, values? How the organization can put people together and move toward the purpose, the goal.
Yeah. Actually, the organization, you see, because as you see, its community is not independent of individuals, you see. So that's why I always say that you cannot build a community, but you can live in a community. If people are willing to live in a community, then of course the community can grow, because if there are people with required or whatever, at least the initial needs of a community is, of course, it's community is about love, no? It's about energy of connecting and caring for each other is what a community is. So it's so basically community actually comes together. So people who want to live as a community, then of course they come together, and then of course the community evolves, you see. But and the more they see the presence of this loving energy, then of course then it can become more, then it can manifest itself, as a community. And also then this community takes up specific tasks and manifest itself in different ways, then of course it can spread also, you see. So community is, that's why Marshall has this idea of actually all this question of having trainers is actually to be able to eventually have a community. But unfortunately, it does not work that way, because their trainers have come and they are fighting for their own survival, so I know there are now some people are using NVC here And because these people are here, we don't have enough job, and we can't do the same thing. So they are fighting among themselves. It looks such a they have lost sense of community there. I mean, we are all about the same thing. If more people are doing so much, the better.
Mm-hmm.
There is nothing that is to be. So I think what I have found, what has become more difficult now is the point of commercial part of it has come, you see, because everyone is trying to have more people and more more money, and all that sort of thing. It's sort of the whole sense of community. That's why Marshall, I think, at one time we stopped all these certifications,
Mm-hmm.
because the people who are certified are becoming people fighting among themselves. That is not a very good example for us. That's why I stopped it for a little while.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Looks like there are no certain way of solving all the conflict. It's still authentic and still a change from time to time how to solve the conflict in different situations. But the main part is still see the needs and don't try to cover up the conflict, but to be open and authentic. This is
Yeah.
yeah, looks not a stable way of solving conflict, but this is the most stable way as I can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Actually, even in solving conflict itself, they have a conflict.
Yeah. Yes.
Someone was saying that, these people they don't want these people to do this mediation, that, so sort of there are very strange ideas, things. Where are we going with like this? Because I would say, for instance, if there are more people doing NVC in Sri Lanka, I'll be the happiest one, because that is exactly my purpose, is to people to come to know the process.
Mm. Mm-hmm. There are still very few people in Sri Lanka sharing NVC. There are very few, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Very few.
Partly, I think this whole assessor thing that has become another part of, like, you know, because actually a lot of people don't think of even certification, because some of them cannot afford it, the way that they
Mm-hmm.
ask for,
Mm-hmm.
So I know that some people have, but for me, I think guiding someone to enter and join this community is it's a privileged part, to
Mm.
be able to guide them into this.
Mm.
In your own case also, they said they don't want SSS. Also, they, how, how everything becomes competitive and very, I don't know, it's sort of, If there are assessors, you'll be happy to have more assessors. So if they were doing what they do, then of course they can have more certified trainers. That means more people will come to know NVC. So that's
So it's not the point of how we call the names or how we call the title. It's about how we can integrate the spirit into all the jobs, all the work.
spirit of NVC.
Yeah, yeah,
Over the work, yeah.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you,
Yeah,
Father. Mhm.
it might be interesting to study the conflict within the organization itself. Will be very interesting study.
Yeah,
You know, how many conflicts, how they are resolved. And now, even on our board itself, there is a conflict that we don't know how to resolve it. So
yeah.
you can imagine how can we really manifest NVC that way.
Yeah.
And I think they did have mediation and all that. Nothing worked, no. So, so basically, so what you want the people on the board to be really purely who have grasped the spirit of NVC, the spirituality NVC. If they have it, then of course, then they could really be able to do some good work. Anyway, it's a big, for me, conflict is a very simple thing, but then of course it is just as NVC is a very simple process. But of course you can, there's a lot of things to be said about it. There are so many different ways of looking at it, So thank you.
Thank you, Father, for the sharing.
Yeah.